I'm not sure if I can see comments on here or not. And I don't think anybody's out there right now. I didn't tell anybody I was going to do a live, so I'm just pop it on here. But I did think I thought maybe I would talk about something that I feel like has kind of been on my mind a little bit, and that is the topic of vulnerability. And because, it's being touted a lot to just be really authentic and just put your heart out there and be who you are, and stop trying to. I even did a video, a live the other day, yesterday I think, on my Facebook and page, and I talked about not editing yourself and just being who you are, being authentic. But I wanted to talk about the other side of the coin, and that is boundaries. And but I wanted to just kind of encourage people to remember that when you think about being vulnerable, like the definition of vulnerability, it is being susceptible to emotional and physical harm. That's what the definition of one of the definitions of vulnerability is. And so being completely out there on a public forum and just being completely vulnerable and just being yourself and being authentic, which I think we should be ourselves. I'm not advocating that we don't be ourselves or that we're not authentic, but how much you reveal of yourself, how much you give out on a public forum needs to be weighed by how comfortable you are with that. Not that it's, it is good sometimes to kind of push our comfort zones a little, but if it makes you feel extremely insecure and you don't feel that when attack comes, because it will, when we're vulnerable, there are a lot of trolls out there, and there's a lot of people that are very triggered by different things, and we never know how we're going to trigger somebody, what we're going to say that they're going to, just in their mind, it's going to set off a trigger, and they're going to project everything that is behind that trigger onto the person that triggered them, instead of, a lot of people aren't just going to realize, oh, I need to do some internal work here. I've been triggered. There's something there I need to work on. A lot of people out there don't realize that. They just automatically project, and it's automatically everything they feel is real to them, and they project it onto the person that triggered it. And we all do it. We've all done it. But thank goodness we're in a time that we're learning that we don't have to project onto other people. We can take full responsibility for our lives and for what we're creating in our lives. So anyway, really fun. But back to vulnerability. Boundaries, okay, are what divides us. A boundary divides yours from mine, okay, you from me. And many of us understand enmeshment. Enmeshment happens when people don't have strong boundaries, and they have something else, and they have a very codependent relationship. Sometimes this happens in extremely dysfunctional families that have a lot of drug abuse, or just a lot of emotional or physical abuse going on in the home environment. There's a lot of enmeshment that happens, and then children don't grow up learning how to have these boundaries, and a lot of times they don't understand that they have a certain autonomy. And one power that we all have is the power to keep what is ours and what is true about us to ourselves, and to give it to whom we may. And I wanted to read a quote by, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name. she's the one that does thing on talks on vulnerability all the time, and I don't normally watch her. So what I'll do is I'll put it down. I'll remember it probably after this, and I'll put it down. It's like right there, but I'll put it down in the comments if I don't think about it during this. But she usually gives. She's very very sought after for her books and her talks that she gives, and she talks a lot about being vulnerable and being authentic and showing up as you are. And she and I've often thought about that vulnerability because of the definition, and because I have always been so vulnerable, and so I'm a highly sensitive personality, and I'm empathic, and I didn't understand this when I was a child. And so the things that happened to me were just compounded by the fact that I had a very highly sensitive nature. And so the idea of just getting out there and being vulnerable has not been a something I've just jumped right into. And so, but I wanted to read this quote from her. It's Brene Brown. Okay, I think almost have it there. Anyways, she says, "Our stories are not meant for everyone. Hearing them is a privilege, and we should always ask ourselves before we share, who has earned the right to hear my story?" And when I read that, I think it was Brene Brown is what her name is, yeah. And when I read that, I was like, wow, because I always, when I would hear her talking, it was almost just the opposite of that to me. Like she was telling you to get out there and to be yourself and to dare to be vulnerable. But here she's also cautioning, she's balancing it back out with the idea of our story and our vulnerabilities are not for everyone. And there does come a time when we have pearls of wisdom and things that because of things that we've been through, that other people that have not been through the things we've been through may not understand those pearls. And we try to share them, and they trample them under their feet, and then they turn again to rend you. And that means just to tear you down. They take what you have to say, and and then they turn again and get their shots and their arrows, boom, 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 boom. I have a troll. I have a troll that almost every single time I do a video, this troll comes on and gives me an instant thumbs down. And I know this troll doesn't even probably watch the whole the whole video. And I don't even look for it anymore because it used to bug me, and I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I can't say I'm positive, but I'm almost like 99.9% sure. Anyhow, that's just how some people are always going to be with. And so those type of people don't really deserve our story. They don't deserve to have all of us. And so, are you with me here? Do you kind of get what I'm saying? And the reason I felt burdened to get on here and even talk about this, and why I thought I would just do it live, for one thing, I am working on my own vulnerability, but also just showing up live, and not editing myself. Because like in my video I did on Facebook the other day, I was talking about how we tend to edit ourselves, go through, and like I always go through and really, really edit all my videos. And you want them to be presentable, and you don't want people just go, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. But at the same time, it is who you are. And I feel like we're making this such a fake society when we can just cut out and edit and redo things on media. So we change the way we look on media. We change the coloring behind us. We smooth the skin, or I don't do those type of things, but putting up on a bunch of makeup, or feeling like we have to look a certain way before we get on live. Like I didn't go run in and do my makeup to do this live. I don't really have much makeup on. I have a little bit of mascara. I went out today, so I threw some mascara on. But we feel like we have to edit ourselves and change our environment. And even here, I'm like I love this room I'm in, but one of the reasons I like it is because it's so clear it from clutter, clutter on the walls. And we've got this is our guest room, and I love it. It's just it's like a little hotel retreat right now. Anyhow, I just wanted it to pop on here and try a live, and just to encourage people. They sometimes wonder, and especially like I get a lot of my calls that I get from people, my free calls especially, come from women and even men at times, but I mostly get women who are in relationships where they're really stressed out, and they're realizing that their partner is a narcissist or has very strong narcissistic characteristics, and they're wondering, how do I deal with this partner? And one of the best pieces of advice that I can give anyone in any situation, in any relationship that's tough, is be careful of how much you give to them. Once somebody has shown you they're just going to hurt you, they're just going to be demeaning toward you, you open your heart, you try to open up to them and be good to them, and they've shown you that they're like that swine that's just going to come in and trample it. You have it within your power to say, okay, I am going to really put a wall there. I'm going to put a boundary there. And that boundary is, there's only so much of me you're going to get anymore, because you've proven to me you don't deserve more of that. And, maybe there'll be a time in the future that, someone that you've had to do that with may, the relationship may improve. Maybe there'll be some therapy, or maybe that other person might get some help or whatever, and the communications lines will open and the trust will increase again, and then we can choose then how much, if we're going to be open up a little bit more of ourselves and see how they do with it. Because I don't advocate just completely closing yourself off from everybody, but I do advocate to take care of your heart and to have boundaries there. And when somebody has proven to you that they don't respect you, the thing is people can disagree with you. They can disagree with your beliefs. They can disagree with your stands. They can disagree with a lot, but they still don't have to have disrespect. They still don't have to be belittling toward you. And when somebody is disrespectful and belittling toward you, then they don't deserve you. They don't deserve all of you. And if you're in a situation where, you can't get out of the relationship you're in for whatever reason, you're kind of trapped, because a lot of people feel that way right for now, or you don't want to get out of it right now. You're not ready for that. You're not even emotionally ready for it. One of the strongest things that you have, one of the most powerful things that we all have, is how much of ourselves we give to anybody. And this doesn't just apply to, marital relationships or romantic relationships. This applies to friendships. It applies to family members. It applies to neighbors. I don't get real snugly close to neighbors, because every relationship brings up tension, and I feel like certain good boundaries there keep the peace between neighbors. I feel like as soon as you start getting really close to anybody, there's a friction that starts. And unless you're committed to the relationship in some way, like you're my bestie, or, we have that friction, but we'll work through it. If you're not committed to that, then that can turn into something ugly where, you can't even stand your neighbor and whatever. So there's certain boundaries I have there. So how much of myself I reveal to a neighbor, or the guy at the grocery store, that says, how are you doing? And I may have a whole load of stuff going on in my life, but I'm not going to reveal it to the grocer. That's just a casual, how you doing? I'll say, oh, okay, or not too bad, or I'm thankful, or I'm grateful for a beautiful day, or whatever way you want to answer that. So it's realizing that that's part of your power, I didn't always realize that. When I was younger, I would open myself up and get in conversations where people were acting like they were real cozy with me, wanted to lean in and, have deep conversations. And then they just end up judging me and gossiping about me, or taking some of the things that I said and making it a gossip around others, and I made myself vulnerable basically to harm, to emotional harm in those cases. I didn't know, I didn't understand, and I had to learn that our power, one of our greatest anchors in our own personal power, is our. Did you knock on the door, honey? Troy? I'm on a live. Did you knock on the door? Do you need something? Um. Yeah, I'll have some. He's making some coffee. So, anyways, one of our greatest personal powers is holding on to our autonomy and being a good steward over how much of us that we choose to give to somebody else. Like even here on this life, I get to choose how much I reveal and talk about on this live. And it's like that with any relationship. And so I just wanted to share that. I think about you all a lot. Those that comment, that have difficult situations that they're trying to work through. And I've had a lot of comments on my video on how to live with a narcissist peacefully. And my heart goes out to almost every one of them, even the ones that get angry. Like again, like I say, people get triggered, and you don't mean to trigger them, but they get triggered, and then they project all this stuff on you. And but my heart goes out because I understand that they're in a lot of pain, and I I've been through my own personal hell, so I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to feel alone, and feel like nobody really gets you, like you don't really belong here, like you don't fit in. I know what it's like to go through all those horrible feelings of just feeling like nobody gives a shit about you, really, in a real way, and to feel disconnected. And that's why where my healing path came in was learning to genuinely love myself. And that's why I advocate for genuine self-love so strongly, and why I've put together courses and why I teach people. It's so because I learned for myself, and I felt like even Source taught me this, that unless you learned to trust yourself and to love yourself, you really don't have your full capacity to trust and love others. It doesn't mean you don't love and trust anybody, but your full capacity isn't there, because you have to learn to trust yourself. And you have to learn to trust yourself even before you learn to trust some deity up here, God, or whatever you want to, whatever you claim. You may be an atheist and don't even believe, but those who do, before you even trust that, you have to learn to trust yourself first. Because as I was shown, if I don't trust me, if I don't trust my own perceptions and my own truth, if I don't trust that I am a good person inside, then how can I trust a deity or a God or a source that's higher? Because I'm going to think at a subconscious level that they don't like me or don't fully trust me, because I don't trust myself. And so there's just going to be this distrusting relationship there, right? I mean, it's so foundational and it's so key. And it is so important that we learn to nurture and genuinely, and I say genuinely because there's this almost this false self-love that goes on out there with people. Okay, oh yeah, I love myself, but look what I'm doing for myself. I went and got a coffee and I got my nails done, or whatever, and not that those things are bad in and of themselves, but it's kind of like saying, it's kind of like the rose colored glasses relationship with in dating, where you just kind of, dude, did you just see that light that went down? That was so bizarre behind me. I have to look at that later. Like, what did that come from? Anyways, looked like an orb. Um, so yeah, I mean, and yet you've got to get your roots down. It's got to be something so genuine and so deep that you're self-fulfilling. And what I've learned through this journey is that as I allowed myself to move through the pain of these beliefs that I had about myself, that I had really taken on from a very young girl, and I moved through how it was agonizing when I moved through them. It was agonizing. But once I got through and I got down to the bedrock, I realized that I am love, that I'm a good person at my core. I'm completely in the very center of my core. I'm a good, loving, kind human being, soul, like right in my core. I am love. And when you realize that's like you've all that you touch, you tap into the source of love, which is deep inside of you. It comes from source and it's deep in you. You're a part of source. You come from source and you tap into that source. And so it doesn't mean that, I mean, we all want that connection and we all feel that desire to have connection, but you start to get your roots down where you're not needing to get your roots into somebody else. And whenever I start to feel that, like, okay, I'm feeling like angry at somebody because I don't feel like they're giving me enough love or enough attention or whatever, or I'm starting to feel, I don't even, yeah, anger can come up sometimes with that, or frustration. I always go back and think, oh, am I giving myself the love I need right now and the attention and the nurturing? I've stopped doing that. And I almost inevitably, every time I realize that I am now back out here focusing on everybody else, which I'm a caregiver, I'm an empath, I'm a sensitive. I do that naturally. I naturally have my focus out here all the time. And it's been very difficult for me to say, I count, and listen, and to pay attention to me, pay attention to my needs. It's been so hard for me to learn that. And yet that is what has been foundational in shifting me from feeling very insecure and very left out. There's really no words. Yes, my clients, they describe it sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, in their own ways. But there's really no words to that feeling when you have not had the nurturing from a parent that you needed as a child. And I've always likened it to like somebody that, lost legs as a child or was born without legs. It's like nobody can really fully understand what it's like to go without legs, to have to try to navigate this world without legs. And it's the same thing without feeling protected and nurtured and loved and adored like a child normally would feel. When you haven't felt that, when you haven't experienced that, maybe very, 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 very mildly at times it came in. I mean, obviously my parents kept me fed and well enough to survive, but I didn't have the nurturing. And matter of fact, I had with my dad particularly, I had the opposite. I was beaten down constantly, just constantly. And when that happens, you're crippled. It cripples you. It just cripples you because you go through your whole childhood looking out the lens, your own eyes and your own experience. And you see all these other kids around you, and you go to the cafeteria and they're eating nice warm meals, and you're given, you have this soggy sandwich and bruised apple, and you go and hide in a corner, or even you're hungry and you just smell the good food. Or I remember spending the night at a friend's house, and when I was really young, and then they had this, we woke up and the table was set, and there was orange juice and there was milk, and they were bringing, I was like, whoa, like I'd never seen a spread like that in my life. And I was like, wow, people eat like this. Like, and you go through life seeing other people have all these things and able to do all these things. And not only that, when you have somebody beating you down all the time and telling you you're stupid, you can't do anything right, and you don't care about anybody yourself, and blah 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 blah. When you have this somebody beating you down, you start to believe that. And so then it affects you. You believe that when you go out with peers, and then when you get bullied and you don't have anybody to come home and say somebody's bullying me and feel protected. For me, I was like, I would be more afraid to tell my parents that they would do something to embarrass me. Then I had no confidence in them that way. And so I didn't feel protected, and I had nowhere to go. So, it made me susceptible to being bullied, and my boundaries were completely obliterated. And so I had to get back to find my core, my love within myself. That was the only way I could heal this part of me that was so broken, that said, you'll never be anything. You're not, you're broken. You've got no legs, you'll never amount to anything. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it was the same feeling. I mean, but in a different way, where the legs would probably be, I'm sure, emotional too, but that it's a definite physical thing that other people can see. Sometimes people don't always see the emotional thing that's going on, that's so deep, and so they don't realize how completely wounded, like beyond, wounded isn't even the right, wounded is so mild. Shattered. It's more like, I used to say, completely shattered your heart is, and you're trying to pull yourself together, even get a sense of who you are and be authentic, and then all of a sudden it comes out, you need to be more vulnerable. You need to be more authentic. Well, number one, what is authentic to you when you've never been allowed to be authentic? When every time you turned a corner, every time you did something that looked a little off to somebody was beating you up, or grounding you, or whipping you, or telling you what an awful person you are, or whatever. How do you ever, it wasn't like you got a dream. What am I going to be when I grow up? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go to school? Are you kidding me? So be authentic and be vulnerable. Well, I've been freaking vulnerable my whole life, and I'm done being so vulnerable. To me, power now comes, and I don't have to be vulnerable anymore. I'm grown, and if somebody's going to treat me with disrespect, they don't deserve me, because I've gotten to that bedrock that I am love, and that I am valuable, and it's not because of anything I've done or haven't done. It's because I am love at my core, and I honor that, even in the person that I may not give much of myself to, or may avoid altogether. I honor that in their core they are love. But it's still, if they're not in touch with that fully, and they're treating me with disrespect, it is still within my power and within my responsibility to put a boundary there, and to say, hey, I love that person. I know that person is love, and I don't wish any harm on them. I wish they would do their work, and I wish they would grow and be able to quit being so judgmental and being so hateful. But I don't have to allow them to project that onto me. I don't have to allow that. I have to protect, first and foremost, my heart, because I'm the only one that experiences my life, and you're the only one that experiences your life. And so the decisions and the choices you make, You may allow yourself to be influenced and by all these people out here. You may allow yourself to open yourself up and be completely vulnerable, but you have to live with it. You have to live with the consequences of that. And they may be good consequences and they may be negative consequences. Who knows, But you have to live with it. And our power lies in understanding that and saying, okay, I'm important. Making yourself your best friend, saying, I'm important. I deserve to be respected. I respect myself. I know I live with integrity. And if somebody is going to just be insistent on being disrespectful toward me, they don't deserve me. They don't deserve me. They may not even want me. And that doesn't matter to me. All I know is they don't deserve me. Sometimes they don't deserve my presence at all. Sometimes they don't deserve me opening up in a deep conversation with them, me answering a question in any depth that they may ask of me, any of that. People may ask, sometimes I think about, it's hard for me to answer questions that are very simple for most people to answer, like, where did you grow up? How many siblings did you have? What high school did you go to? I can't even answer basic questions like that simply. But I found simple answers to give to people that I don't know and that are asking, I went to school in Southern California, high school. Oh, what high school did you went? I went to Fullerton High, and just leave it at that, right? And if any of you know anything about me, you know that there's a lot more to it than that. So that's all I guess I wanted to talk about. I'm hoping that I can get some lives going and get some of you asking some questions or having a conversation with me. I do not put myself out here as a guru that knows everything and that, oh my gosh, you need to believe like I believe and do what I do. I think we're all, I'm an advocate of, we are all teachers and we are all students all the time. And I don't care who it is. A baby is a teacher and a baby is a student. An old man is a teacher and an old man is a student. We are all teachers and we're all students, and we share and we teach and we exchange. And it's, that's just part of this life experience. So when I say, get on here and ask me questions, my passion is to help people that feel like I used to feel all the time, that feel like burned out on life, feel depressed, feel like unloved, feel like they maybe are getting midlife or whatever and don't even have the energy to move on, don't even know what they're going to do, maybe feel unhappy in their life, unhappy in their situation. I love helping people like that, putting the spark back in them, helping them get their spark back in life and getting excited about their life and falling in love with themselves and realizing that they really are so awesome and so valuable. That's my work. That's my joy. I don't even like to call it work because that's my joy and that's what I do. And so I'm hoping that I can open some conversations up in the future, and I'll check this live and see how it went, and I'll tell a few of you about it, and you'll have to let me know, give me some feedback, anything in here that might have been helpful or that you want to comment on, please do comment. Any questions, anything that you would love to hear me talk on, or hear my opinion on or whatever, or my thoughts on, or the pearls that I have to share from the things I've been through. So yeah, I would love to hear that down in the comments. And okay, I guess I'm going to figure out how to turn this off. Thanks for all of you and any of you that have listened. I'm kind of singing because at the same time I'm trying to figure out how am I going to do this without making this ending. Okay, here we go. Mute, share, cancel.